All right, I'm here today with Alex. Alex is running for district judge or district court judge, or what's the proper way to say it?
District Court Judge, Department 21.
Okay, I like that. But before we get into what all goes into that, where are you originally from?
I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, so Los Angeles would be
818?
818.
So did I.
Well,
That's wild.
give me some cross streets so we can really.
Okay. I went to Taft High School.
Okay. So did you grow up in Tarzana or
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I grew up in Sherman Oaks.
Sherman Oaks. Okay.
But I was close to the kind of Van Nuys. So I was like my house, my mom's still in it 50 years later. She's still there, the house I grew up in, and it's where the park is on Van Nuys Boulevard, just south of Magnolia.
Okay.
That big park where Corky's was on the corner. The Lamplighter restaurant. I don't know if you
Right.
but that house right there is a Chick-fil-A now. So that's what that, but that's where, yeah. So I grew up, same house, my whole
What was it like growing up
in
in
LA.
California and LA?
Obviously I think I couldn't appreciate it as much growing up there as I can having left there and having lived other places, because that's one of the few places that you can go from the ocean to snow, to go skiing at Lake Arrowhead or wherever. You have that, every type of topography and every type of activity you could want is like an hour and a half away. And so I think it's harder to appreciate that when you're there. And obviously I knew it was an expensive place to live, but I wasn't incurring sort of the burden of that as a kid growing up. And so I have almost a greater appreciation for what it has to offer as an adult than I did as a kid. As a kid, I think and this is probably still an issue, but because there's no real center to that city. Downtown where I grew up was a ghost town. I mean, it's gotten so much slicker and built up, but as you know, but it's like there was no center to the town. It's like here, if someone asked you, where would you want to go? I mean,
Right.
you could name on one hand, like sort of areas you probably would say if you wanted to go an outdoor place, whether it's like in LA, maybe the Grove. Here you would say it's town center or,
Right.
or go out to, downtown Summerlin. So it's like, there's that I think hurts for community, but in essence, I think then you have to look at it like a bunch of mini LAs all as part of a conglomerate. In
Right.
fact, I think the San Fernando Valley, part of that wanted to secede at one point.
Really?
It was a
I didn't
ballot
know
measure. They were calling it Camelot, which was kind of absurd, but that was what they tried. It was a ballot measure. It didn't pass, but they wanted to secede.
Were you there for the earthquakes?
I was.
Yeah,
I was
that
in
was
high school, the
insane.
really bad one. Yeah, it really did a number.
Yeah.
In fact, like they didn't even count I think our grades in my high school for like that spring term because it was so disruptive.
Yeah, I remember seeing waves in my pool. Our chimney fell, the wall fell. It was pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's sort of dependent on where you were in the valley based on what the properties were sitting on, the type of sand or the stone, whether it sort of rolled with it or whether it really caused significant damage. But yeah, that was definitely a big event. I had the Whittier one too. I mean, I kind of.
Yeah, been through them. What was your favorite memory there as a kid growing up in LA?
I think the things I look back on the most fondly are just my family. I'm an only child. My mom's still living, but she's widowed.
Okay.
And I lost my dad 21 years ago. And so we were very close. He's someone who had a very interesting and diverse background. And I kind of modeled my life in a way almost after him. I mean, the type of law I do is almost the closest thing I can do to what he did as a physician, but he was very into music. He grew up in Detroit when Motown was just becoming a thing. And he played with all those greats because he was kind of like the white phenom piano player in Detroit, and he was good. And so he got me into music young. He never stopped playing till sort of almost the end of his life. And so I was very, and still am. I mean, my biggest passion is music. That's kind of why I went with if you've seen it, the guitar picks. That's my kind of business card for the campaign. And it's,
really?
Yeah, it's been kind of that's almost been if it ended tomorrow, they'll be like, you're the guitar pick guy. But yeah, I mean, I stopped going to college to go to music school. So I would say we spent summers up in Ventura and Santa Barbara, but mostly in Ventura because it was a little more undiscovered at the time, at the beach, and would rent a place there. And so I think I look back and I'm very grateful for those years because I didn't get as many years as I wish I could have had with him, but there wasn't any unfinished business. And we were able to spend, we'd spend 8 hours talking about stuff, and the point where he's nodding off. I mean, that's how close we were.
Played with some famous musicians?
My dad?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when he was young in Detroit, I mean, like little Stevie Wonder, when he was a little kid, he would back up all the Motown ones. His neighbor across his apartment when he actually was in medical school was called Lafayette Towers, which still exists in downtown Detroit. I think Diana Ross was his neighbor across the street.
Wow.
And he played with Barbara Streisand
cool.
when she'd come in. I mean, it was not a thing such a thing when you're just living it in real time. He smoked Robinson. He told me a story about how, in like their living room, the band that he was in was called the Concords, I believe. And I think they were like working on Tracks in My Tears. I mean, was very non-braggadocio, and he was not a complainer, so when he was ill, especially, he was very stoic. And so I know the stories, but it was not as larger than life that he was. It wasn't because he was kind of a blowhard and sort of one of these kind of guys. So yeah. So I associate, I think, LA with that era.
What brought him to
California?
Yeah,
he had a real love of Big Sur, Northern California, when he went to the University of Michigan. And during sort of like the 60s with all the anti-war movement stuff and everything going on, I mean, a sister school from Michigan was Berkeley. So he would go back and forth and spend time. And I think he fell in love with the ocean. And
hard not to.
Yeah. And he just, he very much, loved Californians and loved the beach and that resonated with him. And so when it was time to, when he was in medical school, he was lucky the school he went to allowed him to study essentially not abroad, but do periods at other schools. So he would do a semester essentially at Stanford. And he kind of would hop around from school to school. And then ultimately he ended up doing his internship at USC County Hospital. And then he did his residency at UCLA, where he ended up becoming a faculty member and then was the chief psychiatrist for the West Los Angeles VA Medical Center, which is one of the largest VAs in the world. And he was sort of head of outpatient treatment for 27 years. I mean, he died literally seeing patients. I mean, it was to the very end. And so, yeah, I mean, it was pretty neat. Yeah. I mean, my mom's an alum of UCLA, so there was kind of the irony of the two of them kind of had that in common, but I was definitely grew up kind of a Michigan diehard. I mean, I got the Detroit stuff pretty.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a Red Wings fan. I think the Knights, it's awesome. And I'm a big Knights fan, but like the sort of childhood.
We're trying to get you votes, so you want to say you're a Knights fan.
I know,
Don't
because
bring
a
up
lot of
the Red
Midwesterners
Wings.
that have relocated to, I mean, they're all in LA. I mean, basically all the Michiganders, but no, I mean, that's just, and it's a sentimental thing, because those are memories I, have listening to Keith Jackson, on the weekend. We didn't have cable when I was growing up. And so, because he just wasn't a big TV guy. So watching the Michigan games on Saturday, that was special. That's something I still do. My daughter's not a big sports person, furthest thing from it. So no, even though she's got the height for it, but she, so yeah, I mean, I associate that with that time. And, I didn't go to very many schools. I wasn't switching out every few years to the next. I kind of went by third grade where I landed is where I stayed till I graduated. So I had a very unusual.
All the way through high school?
My graduating class was 40 kids. And I came from a mixed religion background. I wasn't raised religious. My dad was Jewish. My mom was Lutheran. So we kind of celebrated both, Hanukkah and Christmas, but it was not a point of emphasis in my upbringing to impose either. And
how do we have so much in common? I just met you. We both grew up in LA.
You got the sweet hair going. This is the shortest mine's been in a while, but
my brother had a restaurant right outside of UCLA.
Okay. The Westwood Village.
I'm Jewish. What else we got? We got a lot in common.
Well, I'm
That's
half,
cool.
but I'm not the half that that you get to claim because it's not my mom, right?
Yeah, it's all right.
But but it's just and that's how I ended up at the school I did because it was. I really liked where I was going when I was younger.
School called?
It was called the Buckley School.
Buckley? Okay.
It was in Sherman Oaks. It was just, it was the closest because my mom stopped working when I was born.
And it had a high school in it?
You could go there from start to finish.
Did they have sports there?
They did.
So they played Crespi and those kind of schools, the private schools? Or
they played private schools when I started, like in my high school years, because I played basketball and I was pretty good. But I mean, I'm as tall as I am. How
tall are you?
I'm 6'5".
Okay. How'd you fit in that Mustang?
That is one of the most comfortable cars for a tall person. Now, it's not comfortable if you wanted to try to sit behind me, but you can put the seat so far back that as long as my arms and everything, I can literally stretch out. It's kind of ironic, but yeah, it's actually one of the most comfortable cars. And I'm kind of a car guy.
Really?
My very first car, I gave it to one of my dear friend's sons, who's like a real car gearhead guy. I kept it for like 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And I just kept it
What was
going. Mustang.
Mustang?
And so it was a black Mustang. I like that one, but it just was 95. So I couldn't part with it, but I wanted it to go to someone who would appreciate it. So, you know, he's sort of like a surrogate godson. And like I said, he's very mechanical like his dad is. And so, yeah, I just gave it to him.
You could get any car, what would it be?
You know, I'm kind of a Mustang guy. And as a kid, I always liked the look of the 911 Porsche. I just had kind of I carried around little, you know, like those Matchbox
I don't know
cars.
if you fit in that, though.
I might not. But then again, where there's a will, there's a way. I've been in a lot of cars where my knees are like over the wheel. I mean, it's my height's my legs. So it's
what do you think of the older Mustangs?
I think they're beautiful. I mean,
it just makes me think of Gone in 60 Seconds with Eleanor.
Yeah, that was John Wick. But I mean, we can go on a tangent. I ride motorcycles. We can go down that road too if you want. But yeah,
you're going to be the coolest judge out there, huh?
Those are your words. Definitely probably a little different than like your standard candidate, but I've kind of been that way most of my life. And that's why I say my dad was such an important figure, because he showed that you could have the artistic side and the musical side and have it be very meaningful. He did soundtracks for the documentaries that they would do at the Media Lab at UCLA. And
wow.
And he was a doctor, right? It's like, so the idea that it was, you had to abandon music when I was going to music school, then I left music school, went back to college, finished up, and then,
did you think of ever going down the medical route like he did?
Very seriously. And in fact, yeah, I mean, it was really strange. Like I went year round to law school. So I graduated early, and, you know, within a week and a half of me being home, I'm flying on a medevac helicopter to UCLA because he collapsed, and it was out. He had a malignant brain tumor. And so he made it like what John McCain went out with Ted Kennedy. I mean, it was like glioblastoma is what it's called. So he made it about 11 months. He was in great physical shape, but he was in his 50s. I mean, it was very unexpected. And so the irony of you saying that is I'd been accepted to go into like a post-baccalaureate program for medicine, and I was going to go straight from law school into that.
Really?
Because I thought that, you know, that might be more where I wanted to go. And so I hadn't cultivated any law jobs in Arizona where I'd gone to school. But that year he was ill, I basically stayed in my law school apartment, and I went back and forth to LA to sort of help as needed. My mom with him, because once he had the surgery, he was able to go back to work 3 days later.
Oh, really? Wow.
And he practiced till it just became too much. And so, but yeah, so I had time, but I couldn't commit to anything that was, you know, compulsory in a way. So there was a huge need, and no one would do it, to have substitute teachers in Maricopa County, which is like for Phoenix, what Clark is to Las Vegas, to go into like kind of at-risk schools. They call them schools of last resort, to go into detention centers. That was back during the Sheriff Joe Arpaio tent city kind of craziness. And teen moms, you know, I mean, just a lot of really, like, you know, it was called the regional schools. I had to take a polygraph to get certified to do it, but they had such a need. It was like, as much as I wanted to work, I could. And so, you know, I just get on my motorcycle, and I would, like, you know, just kind of drive all over Maricopa County and go wherever they needed that day. And then I kind of settled into going to the detention centers, which, I mean, ironically, what I do now, it's being a public defender. I mean, it's like, they had a need permanently for people.
And this was after you graduated?
It was the year and change after I graduated, while he was going through treatments and what have you. And before I was, you know, jumped into the law essentially as a, I'm going to do this at least try to do this as a living. So yeah, that was a very interesting experience, because they're all age ranges, and being in the detention centers and being with guys that were locked up. I mean, it's a controlled environment. Right. So they wanted to be there. This wasn't like some kids in other schools, they take the newspaper for current events, they'd light it on fire in the bathroom, and or I'd show up to teach, and I was like 24, and they'd think I was one of the students, and they'd like kind of come up and like kind of check me a little bit, and then somebody like, "Nah, dude, that's the teacher. That's the teacher." And so, but I mean, I don't know, maybe just the way I'm wired, maybe having a psychiatrist for I mean, that kind of stuff wasn't off-putting. It was interesting. Yeah. And so I always knew if I was going to practice law, it was going to be as people-driven as it could be, even though it didn't start off that way for me.
Why law school?
I was a philosophy major in college. It was always a very logical fit, and maybe that's why I resisted it, because it was kind of like the obvious choice. And, because I adored him, I sort of really kind of put the medical thing on more of a pedestal. But, it's interesting because all the things he talked about with where medicine was going, it was very prophetic. He's like, I'm almost grandfathered into what I'm doing, and when I'm gone, they're not going to replace me with someone like me. And they didn't.
Really?
It was all telemedicine. I mean, it went as he
predicted.
Yeah.
We saw it coming.
And so, he was still, he was working full time. Everything was stable when I had to make a decision, like, do I want to go on to grad school? And because it was fairly short and it seemed like a good fit for who I am, and you can help people, it can be as meaningful as you want it to be. He's like, why don't you at least give it a go? I can help you with it financially. And so I went, and, I had an amazing time in law school. I had more fun and connected with my peers in law school much more than I did as an undergrad.
Really?
So yeah, I look at those few years that I spent in law school as some of my happiest memories, because tragedy hadn't struck, because there were more tragedies even after my dad. I mean, it's like, it was like a time that's in a capsule. I had a very cool apartment. Right. I was plugged into like the social scene.
Arizona?
I was living in old Scottsdale, because I went to the University of Arizona for undergrad in Tucson, and then I went up to ASU for law school.
So that's what took you from California to Arizona?
My uncles both did the architecture program at Arizona. So it was sort of, when I had to start looking at colleges, I was like, it's warm weather.
Your dad didn't talk you into Michigan, or?
No, I was talking myself into it.
Really?
And they were wisely, I remember going there because I started Arizona, but then I couldn't let it go, and I was going to transfer. And they're on a different system. It's like a trimester system. So credits would have been messy, but they, being a legacy, and I had nice grades early in college, they were going to take me. And it was like, he's like, you didn't grow up in that weather. You're romanticizing your dad, and you're romanticizing Michigan football.
So the weather did it?
Well, and I went to visit, and
really?
but I went in the winter. And
smart.
And that's the great thing. The tragedy is, like, he died in his 50s, and his parents died in their 90s. So at that time, they were both still living. And I went in, and he's up with the Jewish thing. I think my grandfather was the first Jew ever admitted to the University of Michigan Dental School. He had a very fascinating story.
Wow.
Literally lived in downtown Detroit, became a pharmacist in high school, was the son of a baker, selling newspapers on the corner, the oldest kid, and put himself through Michigan, took the train from downtown to Ann Arbor, to put himself through college, and then he got into the medical program. Because, this was a long time ago. Like, when he got out of dental school, it was like the Great Depression. People would come with wheelbarrows of apples to pay him for services. It's fascinating.
How did you get these stories? These are incredible. They told you?
Yeah. And I said, I grew up in a very open, kind of verbal family. It was the way it was. And I was curious. And I think, being an only child, I sought out family relationships more than maybe others might, because I didn't have brothers or sisters. So I have cousins that, one of whom is like a brother to me, who's 2 years older. And his older brother, I was very, very close to as well. And it just, I had an interest to want to know that. And that was all the association with the Michigan side. 'Cause my mom was from California, so that was more baked in, doing holidays with them. And, but yeah, it's just, it was one of those deals where, yeah.
So you saw the winner, and you're like, this isn't for me. Arizona.
I was going to be behind in credits because things weren't going to transfer. Arizona gave me language credit because I'm quasi-bilingual, because I started so young studying Spanish, which is very helpful in my job. It's turned out to be fabulous, but they wouldn't, honor some of the credits. It was one of those things where it's like, I made it like a decision. My grandfather, he was pretty laid up at the time, and he kept saying I was going to freeze my cojones off, I guess we'll say. and so I paused, and I said, I'll revisit this.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then I ended up,
but you could have been a walk-on over there on the basketball team.
Well, he played freshman ball there back when you had to play as a freshman.
Really?
Yeah, and he tore his knee to shreds, and that ended that. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's the thing I told you. Like, when I ended up going to Arizona, we won the national title my sophomore year, and I scrimmaged with those guys.
Did you really?
Yeah, and I'd be like the shortest guy on the court.
That's 6'5".
Gilbert Arenas would be out there. Mike Bibby. I'm dating myself, but you're
Those
talking
are some big names.
Miles Simon. You're talking guys that Michael Dickerson. I mean, guys that, I mean, and shortly thereafter, then it was the Richard Jefferson, Luke Walton era. I mean, yeah, you're talking like big time. And so, yeah, no, I knew that my path was not in athletics. I enjoyed it, but it was not, the schools I could have played sports at were not schools that I probably would have wanted to go as a college, because I knew that I was likely going to have a career of some sort. You know, it wasn't going to certainly be in sports. It would have been much more likely in music if it was going to be non-academic. But no, so Michigan was a casualty of, you know, climate, I guess, and just timing, because I stopped going to college within a year after that. I went to music school, and then ended up when that was
Why
done.
the switch?
Because I decided I was going to really pursue music. I've been doing it forever, and I was making, you know, records. I had a good friend of mine who's does a professional recording engineer to this day. We kind of came up in a way together. Like I'd write songs and I'd play, and he learned the very first computer sort of software, doing it in your house. Those, they call them project studios, kind of like what this setup is.
Okay.
He was learning as I was learning, but we had different paths, but it was kind of
What's music school like?
I went to a place called Musicians Institute, which was essentially like the West Coast version of the Berklee School of Music in Boston.
Okay.
It had all of the, as intense as you wanted to get with music theory and arranging and composing, but it also had the very practical, like my teacher, who I'm still close to today, and we're talking 27 years ago.
Oh, wow.
He grew up where his guitar teacher is the most successful rock instrumentalist in the history of music. His name is Joe Satriani, and it's like, and his student was Steve Vai. I mean, the Metallica guitar, but Kirk Hammett was one of his students. And so he grew up in that Berklee scene with all these guys that went on to be like top 50 world's top 50 guitar players of all time. So that school attracted people that were like the gunslingers. And it was very humbling, because, you know, I was pretty good and I was very serious, but there's a difference between you play several hours a day and you work on songs, and then a kid who's spending 16 hours a day just in a room with a metronome, just doing technique. And it's like, you're just like, it's like you were never going to be the Usain Bolt of guitar when you saw it. And they were coming from all over the world, because a lot of people would come from Sweden because they could use.
So that's when you said maybe I should be an attorney.
No, it was that. It's just I just knew that being just a guitar player wasn't. I was likely to have a rough time just being a guitar player, and I like songwriting. I mean, I have a voice. I mean, my daughter's an amazing singer, and so it's neat seeing that's her main passion in life, and it's cool because my dad was a pianist. I started on that, but got the guitar. Used the guitar as a tool to become a songwriter, but I did rock music. So I sang and did singer-songwriter ballads and rock stuff. Had voice coaches, but wasn't super classically trained. And my daughter, by contrast, has an opera coach, has a pop coach.
Really?
And she's How old is she? She's 13.
Okay.
But she can do the kind of freaky, like stunt vocal stuff that I could never do. But she's earned it. I mean, she hasn't the innate gifts, but she's, to her credit, she puts in the work. I mean, when she wants to do something, it was kind of like me with guitar. No one had to tell me to practice.
Are you guys doing it together? Are you playing a little guitar
We
while
do
she's
a
singing?
little bit. You know, it's hard. Like it's what I've done is I used to try to teach her. Guitar is a hard instrument. I mean, it's physical, and it's hard to start very young, especially. And so she never really gravitated to guitar, but she loves piano. And even though it's not the sole focus by any means, she loves piano, and I love piano. I mean, that's what I started with. But she, instead of me I try to like teach her stuff, and it just almost like it's hard to teach your kid. You know, it's like, I mean, Eddie Van Halen tells a story of how his son's like, I want to play guitar. And he's like, oh, I got to get you a teacher. And there's some wisdom in that. I mean, it's just, I mean, my guitar teacher that I had when I was a kid all the way through, who almost just became like a family friend. He taught a lot of like famous rock star guitar players, kids, because it's just, there was almost that, it's easier when it's somebody else.
Yeah, of course. When you're teaching your own kids, it's.
But she loves to teach. So what's happened is I go, all right, I got to go do a vocal thing. Like I sang the national anthem at some conference I got asked to do here. And I'm like, all right, my voice is out of shape. I need you, Brooklyn, help me out. And so she like becomes my teacher.
Really?
So yeah. So, you know, and I'll take songs that are challenging. We'll take pieces from Phantom of the Opera or whatever. And I'll go, all right, I'm going to sing that stuff that I never would sing normally, but that's stuff she'd love. Right? And I go, help me out. How you adjust your mouth, how you enunciate, how you pronounce words so that your voice doesn't crack. I mean,
there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, and it's cool because I got a little kid that's teaching me, and it's a way we can spend time that's very meaningful, and it's of something we both share.
Mm-hmm.
But
where have you done the anthem?
It's been a minute. The last time I did it was at Bally's. There was a big conference, and they wanted someone that was a Clark County employee to do it. So I had to go audition, and the head of our office at the time was like, "Come on, do it, do it." Everyone was pushing me to do it, and I was like, so I went in and just acapellaed it, and they said, "Great, you're our guy." And so I rolled down to this conference and just went on.
Is it nerve-wracking at all or not?
I have more of not stage fright, but I'm hard on myself when I perform.
Really?
Yeah, thankfully, she doesn't have that. She loves it. She doesn't have that judgment gene that I have. I mean, people used to say when I play my own music that it's it didn't look like I was having fun because, and part of it is because I think I wanted to execute the music and play it well because I had a lot of pride in the stuff I wrote, right? And so I wasn't able to be as present as I should have been, right? In hindsight, to be able to enjoy the experience. Now I'm playing for love and passion. I mean, there's that aspect.
So you're still doing it.
Yeah, during COVID, I actually reconnected with my teacher from that musician institute who moved to Sweden. And so over Skype, I said, "I was your student 20 years ago." And so we're up to almost 200 lessons. Where basically every week, it's a 9-hour time difference. I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and we do it over. First it was Skype. Now it's
You're getting
Teams.
lessons?
Mm-hmm. I said to him,
"You're a pro by now."
No.
What else is there to learn?
That's the humility when you have to be good enough to know how good it really gets.
Really?
And that's the thing. It's almost like I'm envious of those that just who are self-taught maybe, and they have very limited knowledge or skill. And it's like ignorance is bliss. They don't even know what they are.
Is it like a stress release for you to play?
Yeah, it's a stress release. It's gratifying because it's almost like if you were a runner and you see that your endurance improves. It's neat to practice something and then you come back to it a week or two later and your ability to play faster or cleaner or be able to master a piece of music that you. Yes, I mean I would be in the kind of advanced category, but the people I'm looking at are they're the Michael Jordans of guitar. I mean that's the bar, and so I'm never going to be close to that, but I'd rather learn from them and help them elevate my game than, just be kind of banging on the guitar playing, very basic stuff that I did 20, 30 years ago. I mean, it's just, I know enough to know how good it gets, and that's what keeps you humble.
So people can come out here and watch you play somewhere?
Potentially. This has been kind of the other thing in my life besides family and work, but it would be nice to get out there again. Especially because I can just do it from a pure passion place now. There's no pressure of am I going to do this for a living? I don't have to. And it's just.
What ended up bringing you to Vegas?
So while I was in Arizona, I was doing the teaching while my dad was going through his stuff, and I had so I was teaching. I was just there, and I was still in my law school apartment because I had a semester that I had graduated early. So all my friends from law school were still in school, and so
technically you were an attorney already, or
I was a possessor of the degree, but I couldn't practice, and so I hadn't taken the bar.
To do the bar first. Okay.
And then I ended up, the one silver lining that was really kind of a beautiful story in all this is as I was just very kind of a little bit numb and kind of just, I mean, I was still me, but I was muted because you kind of knew, he knew being a doctor that he was terminally ill. And I never quite accepted that. And maybe I still haven't because I still have recurring dreams where he's still alive. I ended up meeting my now wife, that May. In fact, actually, I'd already never
in Arizona.
And just it was the last night where the kids in my class for law school that were graduating when I should have in May. We did a big bar hop, and we had a chance encounter. And just, exchange info, and there was no pressure. She had been living in Germany and had gone through a breakup with a guy that she moved to Germany to go be in a relationship with.
Really?
And it didn't work out, and she came back. And I was going through my kind of horror show of what was to come, life stuff. And so we just clicked, and it was it had to survive because it was meant to, not because we were looking to go get into some relationship. Right. And so it was very interesting. But no, she was
what was she doing in Arizona? She lived there, or?
She grew up in Arizona. She
Oh, okay.
She put herself through school. She got an international business degree at ASU. I mean, she bartended. I mean, she grew up in a very different way than I did. I mean, she grew up very hard. She grew up in like dollar housing. I mean, she had a lot less stability. And so we came from really opposite worlds, but
Opposites attract.
yeah. And she had a lot of innate gifts and has a lot of innate gifts. She's very, very beautiful. She's bright. She has all these talents. And she had a grandmother that really took an interest to want to cultivate that because there was a lot of instability, in her upbringing. And she, went through traumas. And so it's like, she always aspired to maximize her skill set and push herself as hard as she could. And so, she saw in me that I was a little different, in Scottsdale, there's guys walking around that are face guys. There's guys walking around who have money. There's people walking around that have titles. But, being a little bit of a mix of things with the music, whatever, she thought that she recognized in that was a little different and it was intriguing to her. And so we kind of had it in the first 5 weeks. We maybe only went out a few times, but then I was studying to take the Arizona bar, I think. And it was like, I've never been to Vegas with like a girlfriend or, just date type deal. And I'm like, why don't we fly out there and just do a couple days for yucks? And so we came out here and I stayed, I think, at the Luxor and then the Hard Rock. And then she was living with her mom on the total west side of Phoenix. And I was still on the total east side of Phoenix in my apartment. And when we got off the plane and went back to my apartment, I said, you don't have to leave and go all the way back to your mom's. If you want to stay. And then we've been living together ever since. So 5 weeks in, we've been basically together.
So you were going to take the bar in Arizona?
I did. And I ended up taking the bar there. But what was funny is she was very attracted to acting. And she had modeled pretty seriously, professionally.
So you thought it would be back to California?
Well, she, I think, would have loved to have gone to California. Frankly, if
that's a spot for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, she lived in Venice when she was younger and modeled there and was in a house with a bunch of models in Venice, on Venice Beach. And she was on the cover of Italian Vogue. I mean, she had a very interesting look because she's half Ecuadorian and half like a real mix of different Caucasian, like Dutch and English. And so before the J-Lo, almost that kind of look was, I mean, she was that look. And so, she, Vegas was blowing up. Because of the time, you got to figure he died basically Christmas of 2004. So imagine Vegas 2005, 2005. I mean, that was when the gold rush was on. When this place was popping. There was a 3,000% appreciation. I mean, just crazyville.
Yeah.
And so she was pursuing, acting and there was opportunities here and she was coming out here a lot. And I wasn't working, but I had no real job prospects because I hadn't cultivated any. And yes, I had signed up for the Arizona bar to kind of see it through. Right. But the irony is, it's like I ended up taking it in July, and then we moved here August 10th. So I still to this day pay the dues. I've used it maybe 2-3 times.
Oh, really?
And I have a case going right now where the guy had cases in Arizona, and I would go back and forth and go visit him at the detention center, as a Clark County public defender, and like literally kind of handle it.
So you could practice in multiple states.
Yeah, I mean, I could. I mean, I'm licensed there. I never looked into like all the rest of it. It's way easier now. I mean, it used to be, there wasn't all this reciprocity. Like you get a degree, you get the bar in one state, and then 5 or 10 others would let you waive in, they call it. But yes, I am. If tomorrow I was unemployed and I wanted to move to the state of Arizona, I could take like watch a video they make you watch, like welcome to the legal practice, and
then you're in.
Game on, yeah, dude. So I mean that would be, that's always been there. But yeah, I ended up moving here.
Did you have to take the bar here too, or?
So I had to wait 6 months to do that, and that's where like my Vegas story kind of unfolded in terms of having to find my way. Because we showed up and it was when all the condo conversion stuff was happening. So it was insanely expensive to get an apartment, to the point where like,
there was so much demand. They started converting apartments to condos
completely, like all up and down Green Valley Parkway. Cause we've always, just for whatever reason, probably cause it's closer to going to Arizona, we settled kind of in Henderson.
Okay.
And so like all those apartment complexes were turning over and becoming condos, and it was almost cheaper to rent a house. So we ended up renting a house. And then, I just started cold calling. I called the district attorney's office, said, hi, I'm Alex here. I'm licensed in Arizona, but I'm a grad, but I'm waiting to take the Nevada bar. I'm willing to just volunteer just to start getting the lay of the land. And I never heard back. Called a few weeks later, never heard back. Called the public defender, and they jumped on it and said, come on down.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so I just showed up, don't know anybody. I have never worked in any capacity as a defense lawyer because I had done a clinic in law school that was prosecution. So yeah, I rolled down there, and there were a lot of you have to have a lot of range, I think, in your personality to do that kind of work because you're dealing with so many styles of people and personalities. And it's just a lot of folks that don't look like you and don't sound like you and don't come from where you come from. And so having that range is very important, I think, if you're going to be able to connect with clients. And so, it seemed kind of like a fit, especially stylistically, like, people have Metallica posters on their wall. It was much more kind of like probably me, truly. And so, yeah, I would go as a volunteer. I would just go into the...
Oh, so you were volunteering in the beginning?
And I would just go into the detention centers, and yet again, it's all kind of ties back to Dad, right? But it's like, I would go deal with like a lot of the very mentally ill guys that it was hard to reach them. It was hard to get them to do what was in their best interest because you were having to be willing to wade through a lot of that dysfunctional thinking or delusional thinking. And so I almost took it as a badge of honor, like, okay, this is a case that you're having trouble with because you're having conflict with the client. I said, let me just go let me go to jail. Let me go work with them. And so I would go in and just sit down by myself because it was much looser than like as an intern, I could walk into the jail. And so that's what I did initially. And so then I took the bar. And thankfully I passed it, so I didn't have to like drag it out further. But the story almost ends 7 months later in terms of my career path because basically I ended up applying to the public defender, did not get hired, which was kind of a gut punch. And so I started really reassessing, is even Vegas the place? My wife loves it here. She loved it there. Loves it here then. I had a nostalgia for Arizona because of those things I referenced, that time that was like a time capsule. And I thought, so I sort of committed to at least trying to see it through as best I could. So I ended up selling cars because I was kind of a car guy. It's almost like a lark. I just went and started selling cars at Ford Country in Henderson, where everything we do is driven by you. But it was just, frankly, it was cool to be around the energy of just like almost like a frat house, just being around guys. It was just because a lot of Vietnam vets turned car salesmen. It was like I missed that energy because I was, my world then and has been all women. Like my father-in-law passed away when my wife was 16 and she didn't know him and he was from Ecuador. And so it's like that male energy thing kind of went when my dad went. And so it was kind of just fun being in like this, like a frat house. And it was the end. That was what I took from it, the relationships more than really I was going to sell cars long term.
But you knew that was always like just a temporary thing.
100%. I basically looked every time I got a check, if I sold a car, I just gave it to my wife to help pay off her student loans. And so, it was like a kind of a sort of paid. It wasn't. I didn't do that, make that much by any means, but it was like a kind of a paid externship, and I learned the car business. Yeah. I can walk into any car dealership and I know the lingo. I know how it works. I know. It's like a second language because I continued having relationships in the car world to this day. Yeah. I was texting with a guy who's the general manager for Country. He's asking me a question about something. It's like, that's awesome. Yeah, I did that, but always knowing it was going to be probably short-lived. And long story short.
How long was it?
Like a summer.
Okay.
And then I ended up having a conversation with a gentleman who I was a partner at a firm in LA that my dad had done some expert witness work for. And he was a Vegas native, like way, way back. Really? Yeah. And he was like a big time football player. He was recruited by everybody. And so his dad was a surgeon. And so he wanted to get the most statusy degree he could get with his football because he knew he wouldn't probably be in the NFL, but he could go, he could have gone to Nebraska at their prime. Like when they were really like the big red, type deal. Right. But he went to Duke. He was clever. He went to Duke and used that to get in. And he just called me out of the blue and was like, I heard you're in Vegas. And I go, yeah, your old hometown. He's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm selling cars. And he's like, no. This is insane. I'm going to make some calls. So he was doing a case with a firm in LA that had a little small satellite office that needed an entry-level associate. So it was like, I'm at the car dealership one day and he's like, you're going to go interview on Sahara and Jones. And I don't even know if I knew what Sahara and Jones even meant. And I'm like, okay, and I just showed up and the partner was smoking in his office. It was definitely kind of like get down the vibe. And he's like, I love that you could sell cars. And, it was like, you're able to get into the trenches. And I was like, right. And it was like, all right, you're hired. No clue what they did. No clue what it was to be a lawyer and like really as a practitioner. I mean, you have the degree, but law you have to do. You don't walk out prepared to be a lawyer. You walk out with concepts.
Did you know what type of law it was going to be?
In the interview, I learned. I mean, it was couldn't be less probably. Especially at that time, it was not where I thought I was going to land. They were doing big. In fact, all that we had the biggest client for that. All that Anthem, that High-Tech Plumbing. Yeah, IPEX was our client. So really? I walked into that litigation, and so I was going.
That was a big deal.
Huge deal. That was one of the biggest construction defect cases ever. And that was also because they're building so fast. But yeah, I was doing construction defect. Now I'm a construction defect lawyer, climbing into attics and photographing brass fittings. And I do not have mechanical genes, unfortunately. My grandfather, my mom's side, they're all engineers and architects. And my grandfather, worked with Oppenheimer on the Manhattan Project. I mean, and I don't have those genes. I've got the other side, more of my dad's side. So I'm sitting here trying to read these reports, about structural. I mean, it was what it was.
I was surprised by that because some of the houses me or my team goes into to sell, some people took that money and bought a boat instead of replumb the whole house like they should have. So it's kind of like something you almost got to look out for because that could be a problem.
Yeah, in Phoenix, they had the same issue in the original Anthem, which is in like North Phoenix, like where you take your head into Sedona. And there's like a website. It's almost like High-Tech Pipes or anthempipes.com, and it shows the houses. Because the problem was there was no records of what houses had them. So you had to do destructive testing to find if it was piped with the PVC pipes or not. But I mean, it was what it was. It was never going to be, it was not like my passion, right? But it was like,
they couldn't force the homeowner to do it, right? I mean, you just cut them a check and you hope that they
eventually had, I was long gone when it settled. But my understanding is they just.
Sorry, you hit a nerve. You got into real estate, so you got me excited.
No, I think what they ended up doing was in the settlement, I think they just decided to run everything through the attic, like replumb.
Yeah.
Like we're going to stop trying to find what's what. We're just going to.
Just cut it and
we're gonna fix it. So that was my entree into the legal world.
How long were you there?
Wasn't there very long either. So I was there about like a semester, maybe 4 months, and they were about to make a break, the senior partner, and go start his own firm, and he wanted me to go with them. And I just had a chance encounter. I went to court 2 times when I was at that firm. And the first time I went, I ran into someone from the PD's office who I always had a nice rapport with as a volunteer, and I think he appreciated what my dad did because he was a Vietnam vet. And was a helicopter pilot, and Shane Emmerich, and he also went to the same law school I did, and so he was supportive of me working there. He's like, you have friends here, don't get over the part that you didn't get hired. It's not personal. There's a lot of politics with government, it just is, and you're showing up sight on the scene, no connections. I mean, you're literally just trying to make it on merit. I'm like, what's wrong with making it on merit? But and so then the training director, who I'm very, very close to this day, is one of my absolute closest friends in town. His name is Jordan Savage. The second time I went to court to like observe all the 400 lawyers screaming at each other, I walked by the office. He happened to be walking. It was one of those kismet, like it was the universe. And he said, we're hiring. We're going to have a bunch of spots, not just the 3 when you first applied. And I think there's going to be a spot for someone like you that can be kind of like the flyer candidate, that's not coming from being a judicial law clerk or checking some box, comes from a geographically diverse part of the country, And so I applied. I applied to the DA's office almost as well, just in case it didn't work out. But, thankfully I got hired. And
how long have you been there?
It'll be 20 years in December.
20 years. Wow.
And so, and the good part is I came in with no entitlements, no expectations, because I had to bang on the door twice. I wasn't courted. And so my work always had to speak for itself. But fortunately, people like him, or another guy named Jeff Banks, who was at the time was running the sex assault defense team and then went to the murder team. He was my mentor in the office. I mean, people that were very talented trial lawyer type guys with presence and very verbal, and they saw a little bit of mini me in me and them, them and me, I guess, and took me under their wing. So I was very lucky that even though I wouldn't get titles in the office, it didn't stop me from getting involved in some of the nastiest stuff we do.
How many
very
cases
early.
do you think you've done in 20 years? If you were to guess.
Thousands.
Wow. That's a lot of experience.
It is. And you're in court every day in that world because it's
a lot of action.
It is. Yeah. And it ebbs and flows. And you know, it can be done. I mean, if especially
we're going to bring you back for all those stories.
Yeah, no, there are stories, there are real cases that I can honestly say of people I've defended that you wouldn't believe it if it was on a TV show, and it really happened. I mean, to the point, it's like that out there, and that like, well, I mean, crazy. And so, no, I mean, you could write a book one day, and you could. I mean, I've got lots of interesting stories. I've had the opportunity to represent.
You 100% better write a book.
Well, we'll see. That may be what I end up doing if the judiciary is not in my future. I may end up becoming a scribe in my retirement. But yeah, so I've been there. And that kind of set in motion at least the stability of what my career was. And then I had to ride through the crash, 2008 to 2012. Mm-hmm. Everyone was bailing because I was frozen. Like I wasn't getting raises. I was stuck kind of at the bottom of the pay scale. But you adapt. You know, I'm still living in the house I bought in 2010 when the market was a mess. And our office, I'm very lucky. You know, Clark County is very generous with civil servants. They pay like, probably in the top 5 nationally. And as expensive as Vegas has gotten, it's still not like the Bay Area or
right.
LA. So, but
still affordable.
Still affordable. You know, that's kind of what Phoenix was like. Cheap sun. We drove the Sun Belt was all these Midwestern transplants. We don't wanted that. But no, it's been interesting watching the city kind of grow up in a sense. Become what it became. With sports teams and IKEA and and new hospitals and watching St. Rose Parkway fill in when it was just rubble. But career wise, that's how it kind of. Long-winded way of hitting you. You got it all out of me. I mean, that's how it got started. In that.
Well, we're going to bring you back for all these court cases and all these stories, but I want to really listen to you kind of tell us about what it's like running for judge. Because for me, when I go and vote, or I watch my son vote for the first time and my daughter, and I take my parents, help them vote. Mm-hmm. When you get to the judge part of it, you don't really know what's going on, so you're guessing by name. I like that name. 100%. There's no political affiliation with it, so it's like I'm going to take this person. So
that's
school
the
us
great
all
problem.
on how does this work? Like, how do we know who we're voting for? What does that all look like?
I mean, sadly, there used to be debates. I don't know if that's going to come back or if I'm going to be participating in any. I hope I do. If you want to see me and my opponent, who's the incumbent, if you go on the Veterans in Politics website, that was a panel, just the two of us. It was 45 minutes. It wasn't a debate, but it was just we were both asked the same questions, and so you got to see just the contrast. I mean, it's not
you
better.
Not together during that?
Sitting like we are, but side by side. And so it's not better or worse. It's just different. We're very different. And that's good. I mean, there should be a choice, but you should be not like even doing something like this. I'm not anonymous if you actually get a chance to meet me. And so I'm running around doing interviews with organizations that realistically I might show up, I'm dead on arrival. Like they're maybe super conservative, and like what I do for a living is like offensive on its face. Like, how do you represent criminal? I mean, like that type of thing. But that's okay, because the one thing that will not be ever taken from me in this 2026 odyssey is that come November 3rd, it's almost like when you arrest a case and the jury has it. Mm-hmm. Whatever lessons you were going to learn, whatever experiences you were going to gain, what you wished you would have done differently, what you're proud of, qualitatively, whether they come back not guilty, hung, guilty, that's kind of irrelevant. I mean, your experience is identical. It's almost anticlimactic when that part happens because you're done. I mean, you've moved on. I'm out back in court the next day. I just finished like a week plus trial, and I was in court the next morning. I mean, I just finished a couple of days ago. So, I mean, it's, so you ask about the judge thing. I mean, there's the traditional path. So I'm told, and it's not that hard to figure out, where people will, hire a campaign manager, and there's very few people who tend to really do judicial politics. And that at least creates a structure. I don't know that it translates to true votes. You want to believe, I hope it does for my friends and people I support, because I know how expensive it is, but it's a structure. And that's comforting, I could see, because I'm flying unstructured. And go here, do this, call these people. And so, like, I mean, as I've been told, my opponent, she has like 2 campaign managers. I have none. I
didn't know you would need a campaign manager. I didn't know how that process works.
Because of the fundraising aspect of who to reach out to. I don't have one, but I don't have one yet. But I also have people who kind of the another neat part of this whole candidacy, just like the way I have a guitar pick as my business card.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is I have enough relationships that I've built over 20 years. And there are people who I think just appreciate what I'm trying to do that have kind of decided to be like unofficial campaign managers. People have been through it, that have run for much more consequential races than what I'm running for. And they're advising me. They're like, reach out to so-and-so. I have to do the work.
Right.
And I had 2 interviews yesterday, and so I took the day off and I went and did one with a labor union, and the next was with a PAC that was a conservative Republican PAC that was, it was a very different experience, but cool in its own way. I mean, it's neat meeting with people that have different takes and what their priorities are for judges, their perception of what they want to see out of the bench. I mean, I've met with the police, I've met with fire, I've met with labor unions. I mean, it's been cool.
It's a lot of work.
It is, but look, this is fun. I mean, it's nice to not be anonymous, and because that's the problem with the legal process. The reality is, I get asked who to vote for. I don't know 80% of the people on the ballot.
So how do people do it?
You
just have to educate yourself
correct,
on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is,
does it make a difference?
You hope it does, right? I mean, you'll never know, because by the time you find out, if you lost, none of it worked. If you win, then that was the genius plan. I mean, that's it. Hindsight's 2020, but yeah, I mean, like say my wife, she gets almost more invested in a lot of the races that are non-legal than I do. Like, she's reading about, to go to their sites. She looks to see if they have a digital footprint. Are they putting the work in a bit? Are they appearing at things? Are they taking this seriously? And she'll read their websites, and then she'll see, but judicial politics is very unique. There are dynamics to judicial politics that are sort of rests solely with judicial politics. When it comes to gender, when it comes to, frankly, the lack of attention that these races get, and yet people are up in arms when something goes awry on the bench. Like, how could this happen? Well, when you have a purely elected system, it's a free-for-all to an extent. There's as long as you meet the basic criteria, like my race, I'd have 10 years. I mean, there was nothing else.
That's the requirement?
10 years to run for district court. I mean, you can run as a joke. You could run to try to sabotage somebody else. I mean, you pay your fee or $150 or whatever it was. I mean,
do people win like that?
They have.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And that's a tragedy.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what you get if you have a system that is blind and is anonymous. I mean, I would hope the local news.
How do they win? Just because people like their name?
Well, what you said.
Yeah.
You picked my name. I mean, it's like being first on the ballot. The pundits would tell you.
That makes a difference?
Because of, maybe laziness, just like the first name.
What is that order? Is it alphabetical or? Okay.
So, like, I'm second.
So we need a name change before the race?
Well, I'm running, I at least like to run as Alex, which is at least authentic. Even though I'm Alexander, is my legal name, I don't really go by Alexander ever. And so I'm Alex Hubert, but but that's the absurdity, the thought that like I may get votes. I 100% will get votes because someone has a daughter named Alex and goes, oh, I mean, like the association is that I'm female. And it's like, I mean, when it has no bearing on my experience, I could be someone that if they met me, we were a terrible match. But the name, right?
That would be cool if on the ballot you could see like the years of experience, like if it just said like the name and the years and.
I mean, if you do
a little something.
Yeah, I mean, our Nevada Judges is a really nice organization. Alex Falcone is the gentleman that runs that. He's trying to create some transparency, and for what it's worth, I mean, the third branch PAC that I met with yesterday, even though yes, it's very Republican, it's very conservative. So it's like I wouldn't be the darling probably of what they would look for politically.
How would they know if it doesn't say on the ballot?
I mean, I think it doesn't say on the ballot, but you can figure it out. I mean, kind of, and frankly, you can get asked. I mean, it is what it is. But to their credit, they're looking at it in a nonpartisan capacity. But their mission, for example, was, and what they articulated to me was, we want to get people who we feel are credible. We want to raise the bar, as corny as that sounds. And so, you know, to put, and so, and that's, you know, and that's a very noble goal. But, you know, perhaps, you know, like local news would start doing features. They would put people on so people get, you know, the public, you know, Clark County, because this is a Clark County race, the one I'm in. So you're talking like people in Mesquite are going to be casting votes for potentially me and have no clue. Right. And down to Laughlin. Yeah. And so I would love nothing more than to be able to knock on doors. You know, I mean, it's kind of impossible given the size of Clark County, but it's just, so the more opportunities people have. So I mean, I guess that's another long-winded way of saying the burden shifts to the public. They've got to go dig, you know, maybe my guitar pick lands in someone's hand. They think it's kind of cool and they flip it over and there's a QR code and they scan it. Well, then you go to my website and then there you go. Now I'm not anonymous. My family's not anonymous. You get to see my family. You get to see a lot of things about me, right?
So where can, when this, you know, this is going to get out there, where can people find you and get to know you, and you give them your first name, last name, all that stuff where they can find you?
Well, the website is electalexhubert.com. So it's ALEXHUB as in boy, ERT.com.
Okay.
And then that's the same. And the Instagram's been kind of fun because you can do music and I try to repost and support my friends.
That's cool.
I'm more comfortable doing for someone else than I am receiving. I haven't asked anybody to give me $1. So every penny that's in my account is just someone wanted to do it.
That's awesome.
And I don't know if that, and yet again, that would be seen as a very self-destructive model. Like you can't do that. You're never going to get there just on people's, you know, grace. But at the end of the day, I also have the freedom to do it how I want.
That's awesome. And that's going to be great for the book one day.
Great for the book.
How are they going to find you on Instagram?
At Alex Hubert.
Alex Hubert.
Elect Alex Hubert. That's what you do. So yeah, and that is more like for something like this, I'll put this on there. Like the social, the mediums, like like that Veterans in Politics is on all the different platforms. So people have said to me, "Oh, I saw you do that," and it gets edited down based on the medium, or it's on YouTube and it's full length.
So Instagram's a good spot.
Instagram's a good spot. It's a fun spot. It's dynamic. The website.
Where can they see a picture of the pick?
Oh, the website's pretty cool. It even says click the pick to donate.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, no, the pick. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring you guys picks. I mean, I got picks for everybody.
I'm going to take one.
And you know what's funny is I had them. The company that made it's for you.
All right.
The picks that I ordered are from the company that basically makes the picks for Metallica. I mean, it's like these are professional, real deal. Because I play, I'm like, if I end up having some left over,
QR code on the back. You thought of it all.
I thought of it. Look at the scales of justice. You got a guitar neck. No, it was cool. I mean, that's the thing. That's the fun part is I'm kind of going at this like atypical. Like I'm doing stuff on Instagram, like I do music and with something that I'll post, and then I start noticing other candidates all of a sudden are playing music. And then I noticed that some of my slogans that I came up with that I worked hard on for the website, that verbiage is now magically sort of creeping into other people.
Frank Sinatra, going to do it my way.
Yeah, and to an extent, but I also am not naive enough. And when I interview with different groups, they do say, they're like, we appreciate you. We appreciate your authenticity. You don't come off like AI wrote your answers. It's like, but how are you going to pull this off? Because you don't have the machine behind you. And, you know, for what it's worth, the old model where it was you hire the campaign manager, and they're going to deliver a certain amount of votes. And given how little, sadly, interest there is in judicial politics, where the numbers are very low in terms of actual votes, you can flip a race. That's been stressed in recent years where people have spent obscene amounts of money and lost to an opponent who spent nothing. I mean, it's freeing in the sense that I know that that's not the only way to get there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't be passive. And so in a sense, I'm running the race that I would want to run that's authentic and you know, a reflection of me. Like, I mean, I would never hire a campaign manager who might be very effective if the tone was going to be mean-spirited.
Yeah.
And so I can control the messaging, at least for now. I mean, by doing it myself. Will it be sustainable for the next 8 months? We'll see. But part of it is, yes, if you start bringing people on and have a payroll, then now that money's going to go to them, which, they're earning, but it's not money I'm spending on guitar picks. It's not money I'm going to spend maybe on a billboard at some point, or focused ads and, targeted ads, mailers. I mean, we're all flying blind.
Yeah.
And so, but what will never be taken away is I've never done a podcast. Now I've done one.
Yeah.
What will never be taken away is I've been sitting in buildings that I've driven by 1,000 times and never knew what was inside it. And now I've been inside it. It's like the experience I picked the race, which maybe was even harder, arguably, to win, only because the type of race where it would probably ensure that I was going to be able to go all the way to November. So it's just the two of us, right? So I don't have the primary where this life experience could be cut down short.
Right. You get to experience the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think, besides a billboard, which would look great, people got to hear about your stories, your life. I think 100% you should write a book, because these stories are incredible.
Next time we'll do it exclusively on what is the job.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to have
peel
you
back the veneer, because there's a lot I've noticed, especially interviewing with folks that aren't familiar with how meat is made in a way, that the actual reality of doing the work. I mean, I always say to people, like, I know we'll cut it, we'll be done soon, but it's like you're 85% social worker, 15% lawyer when you do what I do. It's less about what they did and how you're going to find the magic defense to free everyone from jail. I mean, that's a very simplistic view of the justice system. The reality is it's more about why is the behavior occurring? And if it's recurrent, why does it keep happening? And what you almost always find is an undiagnosed mental illness, self-medication with street drugs, combination thereof. And so you then go into social worker mode. It's like your focus isn't so much on, it was a stolen car or it was whatever. I mean, that will take care of itself.
Right.
But it's like
what led to get to this point.
Well, and how can we maybe address the issues so it's not just a revolving door? But you have to be oriented that way. If you want to do mock trial and have it be cops and robbers, like what I did the last week and a half, which was just, I was lawyer guy.
Yeah.
There was no social work in that. That was full on me with the police and lay witnesses, and I'm up there doing the TV stuff, right? And it's cool, and that's part of the job. But that's a small piece of the job.
Yeah.
The majority of what I do is deal with families in crisis and people that are often broken. I mean, I'm representing a gal right now who's trying to get away from someone who's pimping her out and very aggressive and violent towards her. And she's in violation of terms of her release. And it's like, how do you tell that story? But you can't run from the fact that she's not compliant with her release conditions, but it's messy. And so you're really an advocate. And
we're going to have to bring you back for all these stories, because you got stories for days. But
part two, it's early. I mean, we got all the way till November. So
we'll bring you back for all those stories. I'm loving this pick. Alex, you've been incredible. People are going to find you on Instagram, on the website, and super, super interesting. So I appreciate your time today. It was great to get to know you.
I appreciate it. I hope I didn't talk your ear off.
Most interesting man in the world. You didn't. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.